So you may remember previously, Islam versus progressives happened. It was between the BBC's representative calling up the new woke leader of, was it the Muslim Council of Britain? And they were like, why do you not have female imams? That's very unprogressive of you. And they lost.
Oh yeah, I do remember that actually. Yeah.
And the progressives lost that one hard. They did not win that in the slightest.
Islam, shockingly enough, doesn't budge.
No.
Quite notorious for it.
No, although also these views apparently have nothing to do with Islam, of course. So we shall start off with something else that had nothing to do with Islam, at least in some people's views. So this is Lawrence Wright's The Looming Tower. I, of course, have to shill, being the Road to 9/11, which has nothing to do with Islam. Let's go to the next one. So this is the link, obviously, about the story that we did previously, in which, all of a sudden, all the verified check marks came down on the side of Islam and saying Islam did nothing wrong, women can't be imams because Islam is sacred, unlike every other religion, which can go to hell and should have women bishops. Or at least that was the opinion of all the progressives at the time. And Islam won, progressives nil so far. And now we have round two. Mm-hmm. So if we go to the next one here.
It's quite the uneasy alliance, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really is.
It's a beautiful alliance, because as soon as one wins, I mean, you realise that communism isn't halal, it's actually haram. So they'll have to go, in Iran, for example.
Well, I mean, the leftists at this point, the socialist types, the progressives are just useful idiots for these people, aren't they?
Yeah, but also Islam isn't very progressive. So presumably, if the progressives actually won, like in the Soviet Union, they would just do what they did in the Soviet Union to the Muslims as well. It's a very weird alliance where everyone put guns pointed at each other. But anyway, let's mention here.
Mao.
This is Hobbit Day. I'm just going to call it because I can't be bothered with their stupid hashtag anymore. That took place the other day, and as you can see, every Yankee institution in the world that's run by the American government decided to put out the racial pride flags and celebrates racial pride because, of course, if we go to the next one, we have, of course, Caucadia was not to be outdone. Not even going to bother reading this because the white noise that comes out of Shoe Polish Man is not worth reading. But he wanted to join in with Hobbit Day, and he wasn't the only one. If we go to the next one, we can see a Canadian university were taking a break from celebrating Eid. Eid Mubarak here at Western University, and what did they decide to do? They decided to celebrate Hobbit Day. How did they do that? By offending Islam. Let's go to the next one. They posted this image with a note about how the fact that it's Hobbit Day and homophobia bad and blah, 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 blah. Leftist rhetoric.
I see some issues in this image.
Really? What?
I don't know. How could anybody love a disabled person?
That's your issue?
Yeah, what else is there?
Right, okay.
Everything else looks pretty fine to me.
It's not what the Muslims saw. They instead saw the two hijabis on the left bottom there, which is that you've got two people in hijabs, obviously both women, not kissing because they're not actually touching, but presumably in love.
They're more just like rubbing noses against one another.
Doing a bit of an Eskimo kiss or something. Yeah. And this was the big no-no, of course. So let's go to the next link here because it went down super well with the local Muslims who were very pleased and tolerant and opening. And they decided to go with here, as they say. They said that the post was inappropriate and disrespectful because the hijab, an Islamic veil, has religious and spiritual connotations. One person wrote, "Shame on you, Western, for such an insulting mockery of my religion." And I was like, okay, right. So the two women existing and being gay, of course, that's the insulting mockery of the religion because they're wearing hijabs. No, it's not nothing to do with the jobs. Let's not be around the bush. It's got nothing to do with that. It's to do with the fact that they're both Muslim. If there were two Muslim men, you still have the same problem.
This is true, but obviously they will point to that as being a specific. That's visually, that's how you tell that they're Muslim.
Yeah, suppose so. I don't know what else we're gonna do. Just draw Muhammad on their chest or something. No, that'll be worse. So
get it tattooed on your forehead.
In response, school officials initially appeared to stand behind the poster. There we are. So the progressives, once again, running into this problem, this time in Canada, decided, we're going to stand by it. No, there should be women imams. Come on, guys. We can win this, guys. We swear.
Come on, we all care about women's rights, right? Right?
They wrote, noting they understood, quote, how complex and intersectional this topic is. It's not. It's very not. Like 100% not for the Muslims in the conversation. Nope. Big Allahu Akbar, no, absolutely not. Reference intersectional ideology into Islam. It's not going to work at the slightest. What is important here is religious ideology. It is not some crossover point. It is instead, is it halal or haram? Is it permitted or not? And homosexuality in Islam. Can you tell me which one? You have a guess? Moderately accepted?
I don't know about that. But it is very... It's almost cute to me the progressives don't get it. They're still trying to shove, lesbians and gay couples into Muslims' faces, and they just don't get it. This is not what they want. And honestly, at this point, I actually respect almost that the Muslim communities are more than happy to just go, no, this isn't what we want. Because they actually show some backbone in sticking to their religious ideals, unlike, say, the church over here does.
Anything in the Christian West does not.
No, they'll just bow down to. You'll get American priests just saying like, "Oh, we need to remember George Floyd Day."
Yeah. So the Chad Muslims once again just going like, "No," even though I don't actually agree with them because I'm a liberal on this matter, but I just find it incredibly funny that every time a progressive interacts with Islam, they lose every time because I don't know, either they're an idiot or they haven't thought this through. They say that the imagery may be upsetting to some Muslims, the progressives. Yeah, why is that? You want to actually say why it is? Because it's intersectional and complex? No. Because they're gay. It's as simple as that.
That sounds like an insult. Sounds like you're dug in. No, it's just totally gay, bro.
No, yeah, it's got nothing to do. This is not, a point about intersectional logic, although obviously you were going for that as well. This is solely a point about is homosexuality accepted in Islam? And the answer is a big old no. They say, but on Wednesday, a Western official who oversees equity, diversity, and inclusion, because of course that's the spokesman for this, issued a statement noting that the image had been removed. Allahu Akbar. I mean, just that's all it took. All it took is for the Muslims to say this is offensive to us, and the progressives yet again gone, lost that quickly. Islam 2, progressives nil. I'm looking forward to the tribe-off.
Yep.
I mean, if it's best of 3, they've already lost in entirety. There's also a stone toss meme in there somewhere, just like we stand for intersectionalism. And it's like, but that's offensive to Islam. Delete that. Take it away. Yep. Get rid of it immediately. Quote, we believe this presents an opportunity for genuine, thoughtful discussion about how we can best support members of the queer Muslim community.
The queer Muslim community.
There's so many jokes about firemen with... No. And those of all faiths and backgrounds within the 2S LGBTQ plus community, said Opayo Olia, presumably the equity and diversity officer, who is...
Yep.
I'm just going to say a diversity hire.
I like that they've put the 2S in front, so now we know that on the hierarchy stack, it's the 2 spirits on top.
Yeah.
They come first.
The P's still to be added at some point. But the point there being that they're like, oh, yeah, well, we've taken it down, so we have adhered to Sharia, which, interesting. However, we are still progressives, and we're not doing anything anti-progressive because we're actually opening up a space for queer Muslims to have a conversation by deleting the image. That doesn't open up a space. That shuts down the space. You fool. You would have thought.
When it starts a conversation about why it was deleted,
it certainly does.
Why it is, but they don't really want to talk about that, do they?
No. Quote, in order to promote that discussion, we have removed the image. Think about it. I'm sorry I had to dwell on it, but it's just like, I can't get over how like non-thinking progressives are in their speeches they give, in which they openly just say, yes, we're facilitating a conversation by deleting our side of the conversation. Okay, then what's left? Well...
I will say, to be fair, we keep saying progressives with this, but I could easily see the Tories doing that over here as well.
That's
doing
this progressives.
Exact same thing. Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, you got me there.
I don't see Kelly Badenoch doing that.
No, I don't either. Maybe because she's like from areas where she's been in contact with these people and been like, no, they don't like that.
Yeah, I mean,
they really don't like that.
Her background being from Nigeria, she's very familiar with Islam. Mm-hmm. I'm absolutely sure. So they say they started a conversation by deleting their side of the conversation. For a post, it is not to distract from these important conversations. So there's an important conversation about is being gay allowed in Islam? There's a pretty easy answer, which is the Islamic one. And then there's... frankly, as a liberal non-Muslim, this is obvious cope. The argument that you can be gay and a Muslim, like it doesn't make sense, and you know it. And okay, there's that conversation happening in a box somewhere. And to facilitate that, we've deleted the progressive side.
I mean,
fantastic.
A lot of this from the progressive side could be considered cultural imperialism. We're trying to implement our cultural values onto non-Westerners who just don't want it. But isn't it interesting how they've gone, okay, we're in Afghanistan, 20 years, tried it over there, it didn't work, they kicked us out the second they got the opportunity. I've got an even better idea. Let's bring them over here and try it again.
And funnily enough, didn't work.
No, it did not.
This is the thing. I mean, Carl said it, and it's totally true, which is that the Muslims of the world see themselves in a civilizational term. They are from a different civilization than that of the West. and well, they're correct.
Yeah. Fair play to them for
obviously.
actually being able to recognize reality.
Yeah, I also love that we're starting a conversation by deleting our side of the conversation. I mean, it's like saying we deleted Charlie Hebdo to facilitate a conversation about free speech.
I mean, it kind of... Oh.
You haven't thought that through, have you?
I mean, it does kind of line up with progressive values being completely contradictory, that being that you need to speak up on behalf of silenced voices, but also silence is violence, but also don't speak over silenced voices because then you're not giving them the chance to speak. So none of this makes sense. None of it is supposed to make sense.
No, but it does make sense in the term of power politics, which is the Muslims have it and the progressives don't. And they're going to lose. Every time, it seems. One Muslim community leader, Imam Abdul Aftar Tawaki, beautiful Canadian name.
I don't think you pronounced any of that right, but fair.
He said the London Muslim community was drafting a response to the images, which he called inappropriate. Why? Name it. Come on, man. Stand by it.
I mean, you're lucky that he won't only as far as this is a bit inappropriate, guys.
Yeah, just call it hate speech. Call it Islamophobic. Go for it. I mean, I don't agree with you in the slightest, but I want you to stand by your own opinions, at least, because then everyone's honest. Quote, we respect the human rights of everyone as protected under Ontario's Human Rights Bill, he said. But no. He said, while we appreciate that the intent is to promote inclusion, the poster is doing the opposite, signaling a Muslim religious symbol in that setting as inappropriate. Why? Why is it singling out Muslims there? Because, of course, we're pointing out that there's a gay Muslim here, which, is a contradiction in terms, according to your own tenets, if nothing else, and you would have thought the progressives know that as well. The poster also sparked a petition demanding the school remove the depiction of the Muslim women. The petition had more than 2,000 signatures as of Wednesday morning. Quote, it should be made clear that this is not an attack on the LGBT plus community. It's an attack on gays, not the alphabet, I'll give you that. And the existence of queer Muslims is acknowledged, the petition reads.
Acknowledged by who?
How? Tell me how exactly that makes any kind of sense. Again, just be honest. Just say, look, this isn't allowed in Islam. Don't be silly. Like, because I'm going to quote the hadiths to you in a minute as well. And instead they're hiding behind, oh yeah, we accept queer Muslims, just not when they're queer, I suppose. Or even just gay, as they say. Quote, what is portrayed is extremely disrespectful, insensitive, and completely imperceptive to the Muslim community at large. Again, why? Because two women in veils kissed. And if you take off the veils, well then, and they're still Muslims, that's still not acceptable under Islamic laws. Why? Because it's un-Islamic. It's a very simple premise. I dislike the Muslims in this debate here. We're trying to play into the progressive language, but I suppose that's how they keep their power.
They're trying to play politics,
yeah.
is what they're trying to do.
I just dislike it. Anyway, so we're going to go on to why it's disrespectful by quoting the hadiths. Why not? Because Allahu Akbar. They say this is a beautiful...
You're trying to convert our viewers.
I don't think this is going to do much in the way of converting. I think it's going to do much in the way of showing people reality.
Fair play, yeah.
So here's one hadith on homosexuality. The Prophet said, if you find anyone doing as Lot's people did, Lot being here a substitute for Sodom and Gomorrah, obviously being homosexuals, kill the one who does it and kill the one who it is done.
Pretty simple.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much room for debate. I guess it's not, well, if you reinterpret it.
I would like to see Ash Sarkar's interpretation of this hadith. I wonder how she would squirm with it,
Yeah, I don't think she's a very good Muslim according to the Muslims. So.
I don't think so either.
I also love, I just checked it before we start, which is this hadith is in between two others, of course, and the other two.
All right.
It's in between one, which mentions about a man who commits unlawful sex with his wife's slave woman, and there's a prescribed punishment for that. Unlawful sex with his wife's slave woman.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
And the other one is a punishment for unmarried male gays.
Wait, so a separate punishment for married gays and unmarried gays?
Yeah, for the unmarried gays, it's just kill it for the married gays, apparently. But for unmarried gays, far more tolerant. If a man who is not married is seized committing sodomy, he will be stoned to death. So, I guess get married beforehand.
Yeah, be easier, be more simple.
There we have it. I mean, these are the hadiths on homosexuality, and it's not pretty, because this is the Islamic world. This is the Islamic text. And this is why I dislike the Muslims just being like, well, we support queer Muslims.
No, you don't.
Like, no, come on. Stop being silly.
Just be honest. Come on.
You don't have to play the game. We all know where this is going in regards to Islamic law. But there's also the obvious point, as you mentioned, which is that the Muslims are actually allowed to fight for the preservation of their culture. And you'll see that they are separate from Western culture here.
Well, it's because they've got such a marginalised culture. Nowhere in history has Muslims ever conquered parts of the world or taken slaves. Ignore the hadith about your slave woman or anything like that.
Or what they did in Africa.
Or what they did in Africa, or their invasions into the Europe or anything. No, just ignore that. They're just so marginalised.
You know how we would take slaves to the New World and well, they could have children still?
Oh, they couldn't in Islam.
No.
I mean, how else are you going to stop them from touching all of your harem?
Yeah, anyway, so that's that. But it's just the obvious point that even the progressives treat the Muslim groups as something separate, which is an interesting self-report. And also the fact that they're allowed to preserve their culture, but no one else is, of course, because they're not part of the minority groups in here.
How much do you reckon it's because of just like a weird, exotic fetishization of this, interesting foreign culture?
I mean, 90%.
Yeah. And then 10% fear.
I don't even think it's 10% fear. I think it's 10% you're our allies in the fight against the majority. And that's the other goal, of course. But I suppose there is some fear factor in there, but that comes after the revolution. There's also the fact that Muslims have the power to make progressives bend the knee, which... I'm
envious.
Hey, don't hate the player, hate the game.
Yeah, man.
I must admit that is just an interesting ability they have. But let's go forward because we have, of course, the response to this from people online. So Western University were putting up something else. If you can scroll up in here, John, I can't remember what this one was. I think it was them being like, oh yeah, if you were committed to safety and well-being at the university for the well-being team, blah, 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 blah. And all of the responses they're getting are people just posting their own image at them that they deleted, of course, of the Muslim ladies kissing, just being like, you might want this back.
Yep.
Just making sure you got it. Let me return this photo to you, just in case. Then if we go to the next one here, this is, we're going to go to the UK for a story here from Lives of TikTok, because there is more gender nonsense, because of course there is. And
that's quite a lot. Wait, how is androgynous a gender?
I don't know. So this is Libs of TikTok trying to buy a concert ticket in the UK.
Wait.
And she clicked on gender at the end there for your information. And there's a lot of options.
Why are there distinct categorizations for trans person and then trans and trans woman, trans male or trans man? What is the difference between these? Is this Photoshop? I can't believe that this is real.
You don't believe it?
I can't believe that this...
No.
You've checked it, have you?
Yeah.
Is it real?
Yeah.
God. Wait, so I'm sorry, just to go back to androgynous, does that mean that David Bowie in and of himself was a gender because he was androgynous?
I have no idea.
I'm Ziggy Stardust gender now, thank you.
But for people listening, we have female, male, and prefer not to say. Usually where it ends. No, of course not. Then we have agender, androgyny, androgynous, bigender, female to male, FTM,
which
gender
just
fluids,
means female to male, so it's listed twice again.
Gender non-conforming, gender questioning, gender variant, gender, and then everything else from Tumblr. I can't be bothered. It goes on for forever for all the different types of possible nonsense. If we go to the next one here.
What on earth is a neutroid? Sorry, I'm staring at this too much. I shouldn't try and make sense of it.
Yeah. Oh, there should be a link in there, John, if you can load it up. There are memes. We'll get to the memes in a second. But because I want to demonstrate that, this is genuinely the case. Because as you say, it's unbelievable. And I didn't believe it either.
Well, I mean, even if you're trying to be inclusive, there's just so much redundancy in this list. So many that are just saying the same thing twice, like female to male or FTM. There's literally the same thing. One is just an abbreviation of the other.
Yeah, and
what's the point?
Paste that.
Is it? Oh, sorry. Carry on.
But this is the website here, so you can see there are some random event here. This is just one. I think different ones have different lists. And if you scroll down, you can see the different kinds of tickets for whatever god awful event this is. And let's hit buy tickets for whatever the hell that is. The final release. Who cares? Let's just hit buy tickets. And then
enter your card details for the audience, if you would, John.
Just scroll down here until we get to gender, and then you have it, male, and then the others, the horde,
the barbarians at the gates.
Yeah, it is genuinely real. Transsexual man, transgender man, two-spirit, transsexual person versus transsexual man and transsexual male.
Or just, what's the difference between a transsexual and a transsexual person? Is transsexual just in the abstract?
You're non-binary, so you don't think you're a man or a woman, even though you obviously are.
But transsexual is just the probably more accurate term for transgenderism that people used to be classified as up until like 2014.
No, I think transsexual and transgender are different things.
No, they're the same.
I thought one is like I like wearing the clothes, and one is I want to chop it off.
No, but in classical gender.
Classical transgenderism was much different.
Yeah, you need to understand what. Yeah, transvestite is cross-dresser. Transsexual is like transgender, just a different term for it. And then they went, oh no, this isn't inclusive enough, so we're going to need to change it to transgender. But now they're including it on the lists anyway. So what's the point of getting rid of it in the first place?
So there we have it. That's what buying tickets like is in the UK at this point. We're also infected with Yankee ideology. If we go to the next one here, we can see the meme itself, of course, being the phone you'd need to actually use the goddamn website, which is a big long one, if nothing else. And then we'll move forward again because we're just going to see her responding here, at least libs of TikTok being like, I'm very upset that they didn't include cake gender. I didn't know what the hell this was until I saw this.
I mean, I saw people. I've seen people identifying as the most accurate one for this whole thing, which is clown gender. I've seen people just identifying straight up as clowns, and it's like, well, it's nice to just finally get it out there, I suppose.
You can hear the music playing. Just anyway, we can hear that music playing in our heads as we play the next clip, which is cake gender.
Okay, I would describe xenogenders as a gender that could not typically be described with terms such as masculinity, femininity, neutrality, androgyny, things like that. It's more of not how you relate to a particular gendered experience, but more of how you relate to things. For example, cake gender. I know a few people who personally use this. It's typically described as them feeling light and fluffy or sweet and warm, and it's not something that you could typically describe with the terms masculine, feminine, androgynous, etc. Another example of cake gender would be if someone feels like they have different layers or flavors to their particular gender.
So I identify as an onion now.
We queers are like onions. We've got layers.
So many layers.
Yeah, apparently feeling good is not gender and it's cake. So there you have it.
So, emotions are now just separate, distinct genders. Yeah. Gender doesn't... I mean, I know gender's a nonsense term in the first place because sex is the only thing that really... I'm not going to try.
Being an ogre is gender, and she's one of them. That's an interesting self-report. But then we'll just end this off with, of course, this isn't the most ridiculous thing in the UK. We also have the police, who are just trotting about here, as you have Superintendent dons rainbow helmet against hate crime on Hobbit Day. Oh, stunning and brave. Now, I invite that superintendent to go to Tower Hamlets and, and do your rounds there for a bit and report back what you find.
Do you know? I don't think he will.
We'll find out. Otherwise, that's Progressives versus Islam round 2. Islam won that one, and when that superintendent goes to Tower Hamlets, I guess we'll see round 3 and how that one goes. If you appreciated that segment from the podcast The Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content we have on the site, such as the Epoch series, The Bodas, this one on the Strategicon of Maurice. And if you'd like to see more, you can follow us on Getter at lotuseaters_com. Thank you and goodbye.